Hey everybody, Mark Agnesi here for Gibson TV. Today, I'm in Los Angeles, California, on my way to see my friend, guitarist Mike Campbell. Now, Mike's resume pretty much reads like any guitar player's wildest dream. He spent over 40 years on the road as founding member of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. He did a stint playing guitar for Fleetwood Mac. He wrote hits for artists like Don Henley. He backed up icons like Bob Dylan and Johnny Cash. And he's still making records and touring today with his band, the Dirty Knobs. And you better bet, with a career as illustrious and long as that, he's got the guitars to match. What you're about to see may shock you. This is The Collection with Mike Campbell. Well, Mike, I want to thank you for having me over today to talk about all of this stuff. There's a lot of guitar stuff I want to talk about, but to get started, when did you get bitten with the guitar bug? When did you start?
Well, that's going way back. The first time I heard guitar that got me excited was my dad used to play a lot of Johnny Cash records and Elvis records. Yeah. So I heard Scotty Moore and Luther Perkins, people like that on those records, and I was intrigued by the sound. When the Beatles came out and hit Ed Sullivan, I saw that, and that's when I got to do that. You know, I want to get a guitar and be like that. And that's when I really got the bug. Yeah. And took me a while to get a good instrument, but that was my inspiration.
You remember your first guitar?
I do. I begged my mom. My parents were divorced, so we didn't have any money, but I begged her to get me a guitar. So she went to a pawn shop and got me a Harmony acoustic F-hole. The strings were this high.
Yeah.
And I thought that's the way they were. I didn't know any different, so I was teaching myself to play on that thing. Like, and my fingers would bleed, you know. But I loved it so much, I just kept beating the heck out of it. And then one day I went over to a friend's house, and he had a Gibson SG. And I picked that up, and it was like, oh my God, this is not hard, it's easy, you know. Yeah. So that guitar probably made me tough.
You remember when you got your first Gibson guitar?
My first Gibson guitar, I do. I was playing with Tom in Mudcrutch in Florida. We went up to Birmingham, Alabama to play a bar. And we went into a little pawn shop, and I had $100 on me, I think. And we said, do you have any guitars? He said, well, there's one in the back, but you wouldn't want it. And we said, why? She said, it's really ugly. And so she brought it out. It was a red 3-pickup Firebird. I guess
Firebird VII.
Firebird VII.
Yeah. And
we saw Gibson Firebird, and we were like, yeah, it is kind of ugly. Would you take $100 for it? Oh, sure, just get it out of here. You know, so that was my first Gibson. And I played that right up until L.A., until Tom sat on it and broke it off.
Tom sat on it?
He sat on it and broke the neck off, yeah, in the studio out here. Come on, Mark.
Wow. Look at this.
So this room is called Knobville.
Yeah.
This is where the Dirty Knobs rehearse and record. And this is where all the magic happens. Check this out.
Oh, tell me. Oh, get out. Oh, dude.
I had so many guitars, I didn't know what to do with them. I wanted to see them all, so I figured, put them in the ceiling. Can we send them back up? Voila!
Nice.
The guitar carousel in action.
Wow. Do you remember the first time you got to play a burst, like a 59 Les Paul?
Well, I was just going to mention that as an example. The one that I bought, I took it in here in this room and plugged it into an amp, and the tone was just like, I usually play bright guitars, you know, like jangly stuff, and this thing was like thick and full, and I go, well, this sounds like Clapton and Jimmy Page and Peter Green, Mike Bloomfield. Like, it reminded me of those tones. And I thought, well, let me play one of those songs, you know. And I played Spoonful, it sounded just like it. And I played Dazed and Confused. And I thought, I got to do a song like that. And so I started messing around, and I ended up writing Good Enough, this song on Mojo. Yeah. And the guitar led me to that song because it sounded like these other songs that I had heard.
If we're going to get started here today, we might as well
start with
start with something big.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
This is Gibson 59 Sunburst Les Paul.
And it's a clean one. Yeah, that's nice.
The what?
It's a clean one.
Clean one,
It's really nice.
It's the holy grail for most guitar players. course, it was been made famous by people like Clapton and Jimmy Page, Michael Bloomfield, Jeff Beck. A lot of those players from the 60s played this thing. And now it's become this really valuable, rare piece of... How many are there in the world? Not many, huh? Maybe 600, 700?
Something like that from 59, yeah.
1959 is completely different from the 58 and the 60. Different necks, different feels, different sound. But the 59, there's just something about it. And I think there's a reason all those great guitar players gravitated toward it. They just instinctively picked up on the tones and the feel of it. I got this from Albert's at Guitars R Us.
Oh, Monar.
And there's a little story. I'll try to make it short. He came, and I never played Les Pauls much with the Heartbreakers. I had my Goldtop, but we mostly played like jangly Fender Rickenbacker type tones. And a lot of our songs didn't lend themselves to this type of sound for some reason. And so I never really had one around. But Albert called me before a tour, before I got this, and he had another one. And he said, I've got this 59 Les Paul. It's a little pricey. At the time, it was 50 grand. And he goes, I'll just leave it at your house for a few days and see if you like it.
When would that have been? In the 90s?
80s, probably,
still
maybe
80s.
early 90s.
Yeah.
And I took it, and it didn't sound quite as good as this one. It was a little yellower, and it was nice, and I liked it. But as I plugged it in, I thought, well, it's a thick, dark tone. I don't really hear this on any of the songs Tom's writing right now, so I don't know. I've got some, that's once again too many guitars. So I left it home, gave it back to Albert, and went on tour. And my wife calls me and she goes, I was thinking about that guitar that Albert gave you, and I guess she checked around. She said, I think you should get that. It's probably a good investment, even if you don't love the sound of it. And I said, oh, if you think so. I said, okay. So she called him back. He said, sorry, it's already sold. Flash forward, 8 years, whatever. He had same story again. Albert calls. He said, I want to buy a house in Malibu. I'm getting rid of some of my 59 Les Pauls. I've got one that I think it's a lot better than the other one that you'll really like. It was this one. And he brought it over. And at that point, we were starting to do a little bluesier type material around the Mojo record and stuff. And I thought, this would be a great guitar. And I fell in love with this thing. I got some songs out of this guitar, like the first day I had it. I took it in the studio, and I plugged it in, and of course I'm not plugged in now, but I played some of the licks from records that I knew that this guitar was used on, like and it sounded just like that. I thought, wow, that's cool. And I played this other one.
A little dazed and confused.
The sound just filled up the room. I said, I want to write a song like that, with that sound. And I started messing around, and I came up with this song called Good Enough. Anyway, I came up with that based on Dazed and Confused, the vibe of it. And it was because of this guitar that process came out. Tom, I gave him a demo. He said, "That's going to be the guitar for Mojo album. You're going to play that on every song." I said, "Oh, well, I don't know if I want to do that because I like Fenders now and then." He said, "No, every song's going to be this guitar. We're going to build the album around the sound of this 59 Les Paul." And we ended up doing it. So all the parts, all the songs he came in, I was able to make this guitar work on them, and I wrote a few other songs on this guitar. I mean, it's like, look at this thing. It's from 1959. I was 9 years old.
It's in really great shape.
It's in really great shape. It doesn't have the buckle wear and tear like the other ones do, but I love it anyway. All these guitars, the only one I put back in the case when I'm done with it, because it's just, like, ooh, don't breathe on it. Don't even look at it,
What a way to start. What a way to start.
Yeah.
You seem to have a Firebird thing, and I know with the dirty knobs now, I see you with the Firebird a lot. Do you think it just goes back to...
It's come full circle, yeah. Well, it's an interesting story with the Firebird, too, the white Firebird. I mean, I hadn't been playing Firebirds much. Tom and I would play them on the song Runnin Down a Drain. We would both play one just for the vibe.
Yeah.
But during the show and on recordings, I wasn't using them. But I was on tour with Fleetwood Mac that year. I went to a pawn shop again, and I saw this white Firebird up on the wall. I said, you know, like, can I see that? And once again, he goes, oh, you wouldn't want that. There's already a light goes on in my head. Yeah, why? Why not? He said, oh, the neck's been broken off. I'll show you later. There's a big crack in the back where it's been repaired really well. And I said, well, let me see it anyway. You know, so he brought it down, and I played it, and it played really good. And it had some scribbling on the front. And I said, what's this? He said, oh, somebody named Johnny Winter signed it.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Some guy.
So I said, okay, how much? He said $600, you know, because it's got a broken neck. Which is like, you don't get a guitar for $600 anymore. No. Much less a Gibson. So I gave him my credit card. It didn't go through for some reason, probably because I was on tour. He said, your card's no good. I said, oh. I said, well, I've got $500 on it. Will you take $500 for it? So I gave him all my per diem. And I took that white Firebird with the repaired neck and the Johnny Winter signature on it to the rehearsal, the sound check with Fleetwood Mac, and it just was amazing. So I ended up playing it for the whole rest of the show, the whole tour. Yeah. Back in the early days at Mudcrutch, I had a Firebird, but it was a Firebird 7, red with 3 pickups. Yeah. And I used to play that a lot back in Mudcrutch in the early days until we came out to L.A., like I said, and Tom sat on it one day in the studio and broke the neck off. It was never the same. So I always liked Firebirds. And then occasionally, through the years, Tom and I would play the Sunburst Firebirds on Runnin Down a Dream, just so they both looked cool, you know, for that song.
Coordinate.
Something we did.
Yeah.
We even had a Firebird bass, I think, at one point for that, when we played the Fillmore. And you can see here, I think you can see, somebody really broke the shit out of it, but repaired it really good. And so I saw that, and I thought, oh, it probably is wacky and doesn't tune good. So I played it for a while, and I realized, like, wow, this thing is solid, and it's fun to play, and the pickups sounded great. And then I noticed this scribbling over here. I said, what's that? And he said, that's Johnny Winter signed it. You know, I have looked at some of Johnny Winter's signatures, and it does look like his signature. Yeah. So that was just, I wouldn't have bought it for that reason. But that's cool, because I love Johnny Winter. Yeah. But on the back, as it turns out, it was signed by All Love Respect RFD Philly Joe.
Philly Joe signed it too. But this isn't like a particularly old
No, I don't
guitar.
think so.
This is like
it was
a 90s,
maybe 80s,
90s.
I don't know.
Firebird 5.
Once again, I didn't care what year it was. It looked good, and I liked the way it felt, and I didn't have a white one, so sure. So anyway, I took it to the sound check and plugged it in, and it sounded amazing. And the sound guy came up and said, I think that might sound better than your other Gibson. I said, yeah, I think so too. And I ended up playing it the whole rest of the tour for all the Gibson stuff, because it just really sounded good. And now, with the dirty knobs, it's my main guitar on the whole set, because it just is, it tunes good, and despite the repaired neck, it's solid as could be, and it sounds good. And these pickups are sweet too. The middle position, much like the Al Nico, has a sweet clear tone. Yeah. And of course the treble pickup rocks. And I like the weight of it. I've always liked the way they felt. And it's just a player, you know, and I don't even know what year it is, but I like it. And I told Jason to go get one so we can have 2 white ones at the same time. I think he did.
I took care of that last week.
You took care of that?
Yeah,
okay.
Took care of that last week.
Well, if you ever come see the Dirty Knobs, you'll probably see 2 white Firebirds at the same time. His was not signed by Johnny Winter, though, was it?
That's true. This one looks interesting.
Oh, yeah, this one, I was going to try to get Gibson to make me my version of this. Most of the Firebirds have the little baby humbuckers in it. And I don't know where I saw this. Maybe it might have been Albert. But it's got the P90s in it with the cream. And it's a really loud, great sounding guitar. I've played it on a few bar gigs. I haven't really taken it out on tour yet. But I just love the fact that it has P90s in it, you know.
See, it's real. Can I see it real quick, just to look at that? Because
is that factory, or did somebody customize it? I don't know.
Okay, this is a really transition guitar, because technically this would be a Firebird 3 2 pickup with the short Maestro, but it's got an unbound neck, and it's got no banjo tuners. So this is a 65 transition era.
60, I didn't know
This
that
is
old.
right when they were starting to go to the non-reverse Firebirds that would have
So the
had.
non-reverse has P90s in it.
The non-reverse ones, the 1 and 3 have P90s. The
Right,
5 and 7 have mini hums.
But I'd never seen this.
And
with
no
a-
banjo tuners, the geared tuners, and it has the flat headstock instead of the raised.
So this is
around.
kind of a transition.
This is
model.
like right in that transition
you think
between
it's-
the reverse and non-reverse.
You think it's
Firebird.
65?
Totally 65.
Oh, then it's
for sure.
valuable then, huh?
Oh, it's a cool
And
guitar.
it sounds good, especially in the middle with these two pickups. It's a beautiful Rolling Stones type tone.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you spotted that.
But in terms of Firebirds, the white Johnny Winter signed one is still your
Well,
main squeeze
those
right
pickups are a little brighter,
now? Yeah.
which works better with the dirty knobs. This, you know, I played a bar gig once with this, and it sounded great. But I've never instinctively reached for this one. But every time I walk by it, I go, "That's really cool."
No, it is. That is a sweet guitar.
I'm glad to know it's unique.
Yeah. Back in the early days, Heartbreakers, did you guys have a bunch of guitars around, or were you guys just making do with what you had?
No, that's why I collect so many now, because I couldn't afford them back then. And so I got the Strat, and I had the Firebird. Those are the two guitars I had, and Tom was playing bass. So he had an acoustic Gibson, a Dove,
Yeah.
that he rode on. But he wasn't playing electric guitar. And we got out to L.A., and we started, floundering around the studio on our first record. And it became apparent that Tom should play electric guitar because he was writing songs on it. So I said, "Here, you play my Strat," which he played for the first 3 or 4 years, both first albums and on tour. And then I would play the Gibson until he broke it. When he broke it, I went to Nadine's shop here one day, and I got a Fender Broadcaster and a Gibson Goldtop the same day. I think for like $600 a piece, which is all the money I had in the world. But, we're recording a record, and Tom's playing my guitar. I need a good instrument.
Yeah.
So we had those 3 guitars, and we wanted a 12-string, Rickenbacker 12-string. By the second album, we did get one. And we used it on Listen to Her Heart. It's a small body Rickenbacker, but it turns out it's the next serial number off the assembly line after George Harrison's, which I didn't know. I also got that for $120. It's worth, I don't know, $100,000 now.
Yeah.
Those days are gone. So then we started collecting. As we started to get a little success, what are you going to do with your money except you love guitars? There you are. Buy some. You're on the road. There's a pawn shop. There's a whatever. We used to go to pawn shops and pick them out and buy them at stores on the road. Then we come home and get a little cash. What am I going to do with this? Oh, I'll go buy a Gibson. I'll go buy a Fender. I can afford it now. And then 20 years go by, you look up and you this pile of junk that you don't know what to do with. So that's the story. We started out with just a few and made them work.
Oh, boy. This thing's probably got some stories.
Oh yeah.
That one's got a little bit of playware on it.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a 56, I think.
56 J-200.
Oh, now look at, this is a J-200 that Elvis used to play.
Just a boomer.
Listen to it, yeah. I mean, there it is. It's nice, lightweight, a big body, and look at these tuners.
Grover
They're
Imperials.
Art Deco looking tuners. But this guitar, I was doing a recording with Johnny Cash, famous engineer, and he came to this studio one day and he said, "Mike, I didn't have a J-200. There's a J-200 at the Black Market Music up the street that really is one of the best ones I've ever played. You should get it." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, okay." So I sent a roadie over to buy it for me, and he brought it back. And not only does it sound good, but you got to see the wood on the back of this thing. I don't think you can see that, but wow,
Big grain.
It's got like a almost 3D kind of grain to the wood. Of course it's got the Navajo stripe down the back, but this wood here, I mean, that is just gorgeous artwork there. And I love the blonde neck too, as well, where the hand goes.
Now, when do you reach for the big ones? Like, you've got a bunch of acoustic
I have
guitars,
this-
you've got dreads and small
Yeah,
stuff. When
I
do you
have-
reach for a J-200?
This is a good writing guitar. I write a lot. I have this in my couch where I like to write in my studio. It's always sitting there, either this or the Hummingbird.
Yeah.
And I just have it there and just pick it up whenever I get an idea. And it always gets the job done and inspires you to, go places. Elvis, man.
Come on.
That's what he played. Say no more.
That is killer.
But I've never
Great.
seen that type of wood in the back.
Just
That's
the
really
way
special.
Book matched on the sides.
Yes.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is a double dove.
Double pick guard dove.
Now this is one I bought because of the look.
Who wouldn't go for that? I love
You know what
double
happened?
pick guard
I
guitars.
saw one. I'd never heard of them. It's called a double dove. I'd never heard of them, but I was in Chicago Music Exchange one day, and they had one up on the wall, and I really wanted to say, "Oh, that's not for sale." And I thought, "Oh, shoot, that's one thing I don't have. I'd love to get one." And my roadie hunted around, and he found me one somewhere in Texas or someplace. And I put a pickup on it because I want to use it live just to show off the look. It turns out it's sounds great, and I do love this red and yellow
very cherry.
mix here. You know, the dove, I have a black dove too, which is really pretty, but this is the prettiest, probably the prettiest acoustic I've ever seen. The double dove, who would have thunk, you know? And then
So cool.
we just got the really beautiful red on the back. And it's really easy to play. I guess it's got a relatively thin neck. Tom used to like thin necks. I tend to like a little bit wider of a neck.
Wider nut, yeah.
But yeah, that's a beauty, man. That's a piece of art there.
I just love the double guard because it just looks like an old cowboy girl's
It does.
like,
Yeah.
hairdo.
It
It's
does,
just so
doesn't it? Yeah.
awesome.
And this little ghost here, what snowflake, whatever it is. Just like a dove, I guess.
Yeah, so cool.
Some of these red shades, almost orange, burnt orange red into the yellow. Of course, this also has some nice aging cracks
Checking
in it.
on it, yeah.
But yeah, Gibson comes up with some beautiful colors, I must say. And look at all this red. So it's like candy apple red here. Anyway,
Rad.
that's a beauty.
Yeah, that's cool.
If it was a woman, I'd marry her. Oh yeah, this guy. I don't even know what this
This
is.
is L4.
What is that?
An L4.
L4. With that oval.
With this is pre-F hole. This is 20s.
Well, that's what I mean. This oval hole is really I've never seen before. It's a good acoustic blues thing. I write on this a lot too. It's very. And look at the colors in the wood.
Cremona Sunburst. Yeah, this is the Gibson.
The Gibson, right?
So this is pre-war. This is well pre-war. This is probably 20s. This is pre-F hole.
Yeah.
So this is an arch top. I mean,
That's
this is an
going back.
L4 arch top, not a flat
It
top
is,
guitar.
right, yeah.
But with the center sound hole, and yeah, it's not until you
Nice
get
and
into the.
lightweight. I love the work
might
here.
even be earlier.
But I've never seen one with the oval hole like this.
This is
And,
probably
you know.
really early 20s. A new guitar.
It will
just
tune
never
up.
sounds
It's not
like
tuned
that.
at the moment, but it's got a nice loud. When I saw it, I thought, oh, it's probably not going to sound very loud, but it projects really well and it records great. I like recording it because it cuts through more than like a Martin or a jumbo would.
But it sounds like an old guitar. Like there's
Yeah.
no faking.
It's got this
that
kind of what do you
big
call
old
this?
V-neck.
The V-neck, yeah.
And the stinger. Yeah,
The stinger.
the black stinger. Oh,
Oh, that, yeah,
Very
with the
cool.
stripe down the middle. Yeah. Beautiful, yeah. It looks like I like these. They remind me like something maybe a hobo would have on a train with him back in the 30s or wherever it was from.
this was
40s,
but still, this was a big dollar guitar back then. This was,
I guess, yeah.
L1, L2, L3. This is the L4. I mean, you're pretty far up the.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I just liked the way it looked, and then I fell in love with the sound of it.
Sometimes, let me see that one more time.
Just tuned up
Sometimes
the
there's
station
patent.
tune.
Yeah, there's a. I kind of think it. There's a patent number, but the thing is 1909.
Really?
At least for the pickguard patent number.
1909.
And then this is
Wow,
the tailpiece, patented July 19th, 1910.
It is.
So
old.
this is teens, probably
Yeah.
early teens.
And then I think there's something to the scientific theory about acoustic guitars, especially too. The wood has got little, it's fibers, and they're hollow. And as they age, they get dry and they resonate a little more. And they have more life to them as the dampness fades away. And I think all these old guitars have that sound, like they're well seasoned.
Yeah, totally. Man, that neck is
Cool. Yeah,
no
nice,
joke.
huh?
Yeah, this is great. This is a guitar close to my heart, and I've owned one of these. This is probably 37 or
L1
38.
or something?
L-00. Yeah.
L-00. Wow.
With the binding front and back, and it's black. How
Well,
cool
that's Woody
is
Guthrie.
that? Yeah,
I
this
got
is
it
the
'cause-
this Machine Kills Fascist
Yeah,
guitar.
I got
you
it because it looked like Woody Guthrie's guitar. And it's a great sounding instrument. I sometimes take this on the road. In fact, I probably will for my hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, it's light, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Now, is this a finger picker for you, or is this a
Both.
or just you can do a little bit of everything on this?
Do you know that song?
So good.
Funky Butt?
Funky
Butt, Stinky Butt, take it away. The song's called Funky Butt. But it's a good finger picker, yeah. But it, you know, it'll do everything. Good intonation. It's my favorite chord, Hard Day's Night.
Now, but I mean, to talk about Gibson, I mean, this was the cheapest Gibson guitar made
But look, I mean, you
at the
could
time.
pick it up. It's
and
like
it's,
so
you
light.
know, 80 years old.
It was.
And it's still a guitar, and it still sounds better.
Still sounds
than
great,
ever,
yeah.
You know,
And
and
it-
it's black.
And it records. I've had it in the studio. It records great. You put a microphone on it, it sounds huge.
One of the things about, I guess, the Heartbreakers, you guys were such a great band. You got called to back up a lot of other people. I mean, you talked about listening to Johnny Cash records when you were a kid. You got to play with Johnny Cash. You got to make a record. You got to back up Bob Dylan. What was, I mean, at the time when it was happening, I mean, were you inside your body on stage, or were you outside of your body having these experiences playing with these guys?
When you first do something like that, you're just overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, it's Johnny Cash, you know.
No.
But as you work together, and it comes down to we're making music together, you're just a guy, you know, and you're a guy, and you kind of just make music, and then maybe later on you step back and go, oh shit, that was Johnny Cash. I was just playing with. But I would just, and Dylan, you know, these people that are George Harrison, all these heroes of mine. I can't believe I got to play with them. Muddy Waters.
No.
I mean, the list goes on. I've been so blessed. So I would try to get away from that sheen of stardom and just get down to, hey, you and me are here, you know, let's play together, you know. I don't care who you are. Let's try to make something good together, you know. Because if you get too, you know, focused on the legend that's there in the room, it's going to tighten you up and you're not going to be good, you know. Yeah, this
59,
59, well spotted, yeah.
long guard.
Tom talked me into buying this. We were in Washington, D.C., and we went to a guitar store, one of the main stores there. I don't know the name of it now. And we were looking around, and I didn't have a I think I had a red 335, but it wasn't vintage. It was mid-70s. It was pretty good. And he saw this up on the wall, and he said, you should get that 59 335. That's a real good one. And I played it, and I thought, oh, it's okay, you know. And I said, oh, what's with this? You know, there's these two dots on it. And I guess what they did, I guess at the factory maybe, they would sometimes take the bridge off,
To add the Bigsby.
fill it,
Yeah.
and put a Bigsby on it.
Sometimes you see the custom-made plaque. Sometimes you just see exposed studs.
But I
Sometimes
thought
it's-
somebody had fucked with it.
Yeah,
You know, I
it's
didn't
just-
know. And Tom said, no, that's the way they are. So I got it.
So the Bigsby was already on it.
Yeah, it
when
was
you bought
just
it.
like it is now.
Now I'm noticing there's a small little. Is that a zip tie? Just
Tie
keeping
in
the
it.
spring from.
Maybe the spring was
just keeping
flapping
the spring
around,
from
keep
popping
it from
out.
popping. It probably popped out on me once, and he put that in there to keep it from bouncing out.
Now we were talking about the Les Pauls earlier and how big and that sound is. What do you go to a 335 for?
Well, a 335 is not something I use a lot, but when I do, I'm going for more of a B.B. King type tone, like not quite as thick as a Les Paul, but really sweet. It's interesting you would say that because Tom and I sat in with J.J. Cale once at McCabe's, and I had my 59. It was local, so I brought it down. And I thought J.J. would cream over it, you know.
Yeah.
And Tom had a 335, So I was showing JJ my 59, and he was, yeah. And Tom took out his guitar, and JJ goes, "That's the one. That's what I like. That's what I grew up on. I used to have a 335 just like that." So he was enamored with the 335. It's got a sweeter middle position, almost cleaner, and good for rhythm, and a really like warm pickup. But it'll also blast off the treble pickup, and I like this really nice fluid Bigsby. Some of them are tight or too loose. This one's really good. I love recording with it, but mostly I like it if I want something that's like loud but still clear, like a B.B. King-ish tone that you can hear the melody and hear all the notes really clearly.
Yeah.
I go to this.
Yeah.
And I remember once I did a session for J.J. Kell with Eric Clapton, and I was also showing my 59, and he goes, "Oh, what a beautiful neck." He said, I'm a 335 guy. He called it the 335.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's true, but that's what he said. But they're beautiful instruments, you know, and of course they're hollow, semi-hollow, so they have a nice kind of acoustic feel to them. And just gorgeous, you know, what a design.
Yeah.
Beautiful wood, beautiful colors, and easy to play. Just, you know, the neck is really just glides along. Yeah, I always love this too. What do you call that?
Call it either the crown or the pineapple.
The pineapple or the crown. I'll call it
Yeah.
the crown. And these ivory tuners. And yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful
Gibson,
design.
you know. They're making a record, and I needed a Gibson because Tom was playing a Fender, and I'd had a Firebird, but I never had a Les Paul, and I wanted a Les Paul really bad. So I saw this thing on the wall, and I'm thinking, well, I always loved the Goldtop, you know. And but I go, this pickups, somebody put some custom pickups in it. I don't, you know, but I plugged it in, and it sounded good. And I don't care if somebody messed with the pickups. I like the sound of it. And I took it. Turns out they are P90s. They had just taken the cream covers off.
So this started off as this wasn't a Les Paul Deluxe. This was like a late 60s
68.
P90.
68, I believe.
reissue, yeah.
68. So it turns out that these are proper P90s, which I didn't. I'd never seen a P90 without the cover on before.
yeah.
But look at the wraps on that thing. This thing is loud. I used it on Fooled Again, Stranger in the Night. Even the solo on Listen to Her Heart is doubled on a 12-string with this underneath it to make it thick. But it's heavy, a little bit heavy, but I use this on the road for the first 4 or 5 years. It was my Gibson.
Yeah,
it's still my main Gibson. It's one of those, you know, and I just would never part with it.
Very cool.
That gold, man, whoever came up with that idea was brilliant. Huh?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'm seeing a staple pickup down here. I'm a sucker for a staple pickup.
Staple pickup?
Alnico 5 in the neck.
Alnico? Is that called a staple? I never heard that.
Because they look like staples.
Oh, that's new to me.
God, I love those pickups.
Yeah, this is the Alnico. He calls it a staple pickup, and a P90. I got this just because it's so badass looking, and
It's a good reason.
But you know what's interesting about this pickup, as opposed to having another P90, is it's real clear.
They're very loud and very clear.
Very loud
and
and clear. Almost like I was talking about the 335, how it's clear. But the Alnico is a really unique pickup, and it makes this guitar much more versatile, you know. And I got this a decade ago or more. I love how it's worn out on the back of the neck. See, that's the kind of stuff I go for. Somebody, you know, aged this thing in the right way.
55?
55?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And, you know, black Les Paul. And I like the way it looks so much. I told my friend Jason Sine, who plays in the Dirty Knobs, I told him, you got to get a black one too, so we can have 2 black ones at the same time. That's a badass look. So their necks are so you know, easy to play.
Do you dig the ebony boards, or do you favor more towards rosewood stuff? Or
I
does
don't
it not
have a
matter?
favorite. I like it. I don't know. The ebony looks great, but I don't have a favorite about the wood. No. And I love this yellow toggle switch. Is that custom? Does that come that way? You think, or somebody?
Yeah, all
changed
the 50s ones have the kind of the amber switch tip
okay.
until
There
you
you
get
go.
to like 61-ish.
So I'm authentic. Are those the original tuners?
Those are old Grovers.
These are
but those
Grovers,
are
aren't
changed.
they?
You can kind of see the outline of what was on
Oh,
there.
right, right. So it probably had
Those were like waffle back
ivory
Glusons on there.
Probably originally had ivory, but the Grovers are solid. And I like this design too. Great artwork.
Split
Abalone
diamond.
and stuff.
cool guitar.
Yeah.
I love the
It sounds as good
sound.
as it looks.
Most guitar collectors are usually trying to hide things from their wife, but in your case, Marcie kind of seems to be like an enabler of this whole thing. How does it work with her when it comes to your guitars?
Well, she is a sweet enabler, and she's always been like that. I would never, in fact, she's talked me into buying a lot of great guitars that I would just go, well, I've already got one. But she'd go, this one's probably a good investment. You might want to swing for this one. And she's done that all through my career. The white Firebird I have now, she talked me into. I said, well, I don't really got it. And she said, you got to get this the white one. It sounds really good. So she's there. I guess she understands my addiction, and she feeds it. Not only she loves the fact that it makes me happy, and that I get to use it, but she's got a real smart sense for investment.
No.
And she's seen it, and she goes, like, if he gets that guitar, in 5 years it's going to be twice as much,
Yeah. Are they just tools?
To me, it's just this. I love the sound. I mean, I like the fact thinking that I'm not going to lose money on it, but I don't focus on that.
Yeah.
I just fall in love with the instrument, and if it turns out to be expensive, I might go, and I go, oh yeah, but I'm not going to lose money. It'll appreciate, so I'm okay with it. What we got over here now?
Looks like.
It's all about guitars with us.
Oh, red one.
Once again, it's so funny that you mentioned my wife, Marcie, because she's responsible for me having this one. And this is I don't even know what year this is. Maybe you can tell.
63 or 64, original stop tail.
Oh, I didn't even know it was that old. This is a beautiful sounding guitar, and I always loved the red because of Chuck Berry and Freddie King.
Yeah.
I played red Gibson 335s and 345s, and I didn't have a 335 at the time. We were at the Pasadena swap meet. In the middle, it was one of those, it's like in the middle of a parking lot,
Yeah.
and it was like 100 degrees. It was a miserable day. And we used to go, and she would buy antiques and stuff. And occasionally I might see an instrument, but it wasn't usually anything nice. It might have been some old Parlor acoustic or something. Anyway, we walked by this guy, and this was sitting there in the sun. I swear to God, 100-degree weather was beaming down on this red Gibson 335. And I looked at it, and I just said, okay, I kept walking. And my wife says, is that a good guitar? I said, I think so. So I went back and played it. And I said, yeah, it plays good. But I don't really need another guitar,
Bullshit.
So, and the guy came up, and she was so cool. He goes, I forget what it was. He wanted I don't know, $1,200 for it or something. And I said no, and she said, okay, let's walk. So we walked about 20 yards away and came back. And then she said, okay, let's go back. She said, I'll give you $900 for it. And she did the deal, or whatever it was. And so she kind of talked me into getting it, and I love this guitar. I've used it quite a bit over the years, on recordings and on tour with Tom. Back, I don't know if this shows up or not, but you can see the swirl in the paint and the grain of the wood. And in the neck, you can see all the little lines,
checking
the H
there, yeah.
lines. I love when they do that.
Yeah.
So there's your red 335.
Again, $900. Well spent. Dude, I'm seeing a pattern here.
I'm surprised it didn't melt.
Yeah.
I thought the sun would have ruined it if it had been there another 30 minutes, but the guy didn't know what he had, obviously.
That's great.
Yeah.
Are there songs in guitars?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you ever just picked one up and immediately started a song just based on the guitar that
all
you
the
picked up in
time.
your hand?
Songs have guitars in them, and they speak to you. And you could take two guitars, two Les Pauls, two Rickenbackers, okay? Same year, whatever. You pick one up, and you hit a chord. It sounds pretty good. You pick the other one up, you hit that same chord, and something happens. There's some harmonic or tone in there. And you go, oh, it might go like this, like you hit a chord on Les Paul or whatever that you like. Wow, that sounds so good. That reminds me of a Jimmy Page song. And you start trying to play that. Oh, I found my own lick in there now. And so you're chasing, and the guitar brought that out. It led you down the path to this song. It happens all the time. At some place on the guitar has a sweet spot. And as you play, you will eventually find, oh, these chords sounds really good on this guitar. Oh, it sounds like there could be a song around that chord. They do. They spring forth ideas and bring songs to you. Oh,
SG Jr. Wide nut, so this is probably 5 digit, like 62-ish.
I never. Now what happened here? It had a different.
The short Maestro vibrola on there.
Oh, okay. So somebody took that off.
Someone put the badass on.
Called the Badass Bridge.
Yeah.
Which is really good. I got this. Where did I get it? Oh, great story about this. I was in Hartford, Connecticut on tour, and I went for a walk, and I passed a video store. Okay, no guitars anywhere. I just walked in, and somehow in a conversation they said, "Oh yeah, we have a couple of guitars," and this was one of them. They had this.
Why would a video store have guitars?
I don't know. They had two in the back. It was this one, and I bought them both. It was like, I don't know, $120. And it wasn't even, it just showed up. I'm just lucky that way. Stuff just, oh, here, have you seen this one? Out of nowhere. And this, these are wonderful because they've just got the one pickup, one volume, one knob. They play great. They're nice and lightweight.
And they rip.
And I have a couple of stories about this one. I used this for the solo on Runnin Down a Dream.
This is the...
On the record.
On the record?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was that we had the song all done, and Tom and Jeff and I were working on the record. And it was one of the few songs that Tom and I wrote where we're going to have an ending where the guitar is going to just go on for a while, because usually we get to the chorus and end. You know?
Yeah.
So I pulled this guitar out, and I think I had an Ampeg amp or something, and I did 3 takes at the end. And I do remember I was doing one of those licks on the solo. I think it was this one. I don't know, just off the top of my head. And I remember Jeff was there and he went like this. It's hard to impress Jeff.
It's a good sign. Yeah.
And that was a good sign. So anyway, they did 3 takes and we cut the best bits of the 3, and it took 5 minutes. Fast forward to, I'm on tour with Bob Dylan with Tom and the Heartbreakers. We're at the Forum here in LA, and I had this guitar on, and I'm standing there trying to be cool, you know, not guitars. And I kind of went like this to scratch my ears or whatever. And Bob was talking to the audience, going on to some important spiel about something, and the strap came loose, and it was wide open, and it went kablam, loud. You know, this thing's loud.
Yeah.
And the amp was up, the guitar was up, kablam, and the neck broke off right here, where they normally break, right here. Yeah. It's been repaired since.
Yeah, it's finished.
And Bob turned around like, "What the fuck are you doing back there? I'm trying to talk up here." And my heart just broke because I love that guitar, you know. And I just thought, they're going to repair it, but it'll never be the same. But it kind of is. They did a great job. I mean, you can't even tell. But it completely snapped off. It was in 2 pieces. But they put the head back on, and it tunes good and plays good, and I still use it, you know. And it gets the job done every time.
Very cool. And so Running Down a Dream solo.
That's it, yeah.
Probably one of the great Heartbreaker guitar solo. I mean, it fades out and goes.
One of the longest ones.
Yeah. Oh,
but that was it. Yeah, that was that guitar. And it just happened to be there that day. I didn't go looking for it. I just picked it up and boom, boom, boom.
So cool.
It's a nice instrument.
I've seen you use this
a lot. SG.
This is what, 63, 64-ish? Somewhere in there?
64-ish, yeah.
What is it about these?
They look like a bat, you know. I just love them. And they're solid. Angus and AC/DC, that's his sound. A lot of people have used
and George Harrison
Clapton,
too, yeah.
Cream, George Harrison. I used to use this also for You Wreck Me. They ring good, they're naughty, they're clean, lightweight, and they just look cool as shit. You know, I always thought, you know, it's like, if Batman had a guitar, it would be a SG.
But again, same pickups that your Burst has, but sounds totally different
brighter.
Than this body.
Yeah, these are brighter, and maybe I would say the Burst leans more towards a bluesy tone. This is more like rock and roll. It's a workhorse. Lots of people love them, and I love the design, the tailpiece. It has an ivory wiggle worm on it. It's not the best for staying in tune. That's why I took it off, because I wanted it to be solid.
This is another one I would see you and Tom at the same time both bust out the
SGs.
The dueling SGs.
Yeah.
Killer guitar.
Yeah, you're going to sound good with that no matter what you do.
Yeah, that's great. Great checking.
Mm-hmm.
Thick body.
Ooh,
the ES-150.
Is that what it is, a 150? Somebody
Yeah.
was asking me. I thought it was a 150. I'm not too familiar with it. I got this in Nashville. I was at, what's that store in Nashville?
Carter's, Groom.
Yeah, Carter's.
Carter.
And I was with Herb Peterson, and we were on a Mudcrutch tour. And I saw this. I thought it was a 335. And then I looked at it, and I realized, oh, it's got a nice, thick, acoustic kind of body almost on it. And it's got a master volume, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I just never seen one like it.
And totally hollow, no center block.
Yeah, it's real hollow. I should use it more. I haven't used it too much. I've used it on a few things.
And it's cool in cherry. I don't see many cherry. A lot of them are walnut, the dark walnut brown, and some of them are blonde.
I've never seen a 150 before. I didn't even know
They're
they
like
existed.
68, 69-ish, kind of right there at the end of the
nice.
60s. Cool guitar.
Yeah, the hollow body really makes it sound warm, you know. And
Les Paul Jr.
Les Paul Jr.
57.
Ooh,
Pretty
yeah.
good year for one of these.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Once again, like the Les Paul SG Juniors, this has the one pickup. You can't go wrong. I think Mountain, Leslie West played one of these, and Keith Richards I've seen playing with them. And they're just very basic and easy to play, nice and loud. When I got this, it had the original tuners on it, but they were crumbling.
Just petrified, yeah.
I had to get the pliers on the piece of metal to tune it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to change it, but I said, you know, you got to put some tuners on there so I can actually use it. Lightweight, too, which is nice nowadays. Once again, seeing some action.
Yeah.
It's got battle scars, which I love. And
What do you reach for the juniors, like the SG Juniors or this? Is it a rocker for you, or are you looking for a warm
I look for
fat
rock and
thing?
roll, yeah. I mean, I tend to play the other one more than this one. I don't know why. Every time I play this, I love it. But I reach for the SG-shaped one more often. Maybe because I used it on Runnin Down a Dream, I've got an affection
one,
for
yeah.
that one. But I should, and I love this yellow. You know, it's a Gibson.
They
You
look
can't go
good beat
wrong.
up.
Yeah,
Some-
it's a rock
some
and roll
honest to
beast.
goodness stuff right there. Very cool.
You're making me want to play all these again more.
Well, isn't that the point?
Yeah, just the point, yeah.
Blonde Gibson. 175?
Yeah, now where did I get this? God, I don't remember. I call this my Scotty Moore guitar. I don't know if it's been messed with. I hope it's all original. But it's got that Elvis sound of the first early Elvis records.
And I mean, that's what you grew up on, right? Scott.
Yeah, and Luther
those-
Perkins with the
Yeah.
Johnny Cash. But
I mean, basically the same guitar as a 295. It's just blonde instead of
so what is
gold.
this?
That's a 175.
175.
The early version with the 2P90s. This is probably early to mid 50s.
Yeah, cool. And it's just very comfortable, nice and lightweight. I like guitars nowadays that don't weigh very much. There's some buckle work on the back, and that always makes me like it better. It's done some duty on the stage. And I do record with this a lot because it's just such a nice blend between these two pickups and the hollow body. Real throaty, full tone, and not too bad looking either.
It's blonde. It's beautiful. This is fun. VOX Teardrop.
Yeah.
Have you had a few of these?
We're not
different
gonna, I got a
colors?
couple. We're not going to plug this in, but this one, if I could plug it in.
It's got enough knobs on it.
First of all, it's a really well-made guitar.
Italian made.
And it's got a tuner.
How does
Tuner.
that work?
Well, you hit it and it goes ooh.
Oh, it gives you like a tone.
Like a E.
Yeah.
And then it's got, this is unique, called a palm wah. You know, there's a thing called a wah-wah pedal that you usually play with your foot. Vox are made in Italy, I think. They got this genius idea. They put a little thing here, and you pull this around, and you turn it on, and you go wah, 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 wah with your palm. So you can be playing, go wah, 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 wah while you play, which leads you into some really wild things. It's got a filter, it's got a fuzz tone, you know, in the normal volume, and it's got a thing called a repeater. But you turn it on, and it goes like it
delay.
repeats with a gap in between, yeah. And you can make it go fast, or It's the wildest thing.
And it's a 12-string.
And it's a 12-string. And I don't know what happened up here. This is all oxidized or something, but it's supposed to say VOX.
Yeah, I can still see it in there. But...
Very 60s, you know,
And did you use all of this
I've used
onboard
it all, yeah.
stuff when you're using
You know what's
it?
great is if you're stuck for an idea, give me that thing. Start pushing buttons and get this thing out. Wow, wow, wow. Next thing you know, you're into something.
You got something happening.
And of course, it's got the pad on the back. Weird little logo. And it's solid. It tunes good, you know, and it's hollow body, so it's light. And a teardrop. You know, I always loved the Brian Jones and the Stones.
Yeah.
Had them box teardrops. But I'd never seen a 12-string, and plus with all those gadgets built into it.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, well made, actually.
Italians, you know?
There you go. This is the Fender Broadcaster. I've talked about it before.
This came from Nadine's?
It was
Here
from
in the valley?
Nadine's. Back
Yeah.
in the day, I got this in my Goldtop. Because Tom was becoming he used to be a bass player with Mudcrutch, and he started playing guitar and writing songs, so he didn't have an electric, so I gave him my Strat, and I needed something else, so I went and got this and the Les Paul. Between those two, those were the only guitars we had for the first two records. But this thing, I had no idea what I was getting. I thought I was getting a Telecaster. It turns out it's a Broadcaster. You may know the history why they called it a Broadcaster.
This is the first.
Yeah. The way I understood it was they wanted the radio market, so
Yeah.
we'll call it a Broadcaster. And then TV hit in the early 50s. Oh, we got to change it to catch with the young market. We'll call it a Telecaster. But this is a Broadcaster, and it's just the way I bought it. I never changed anything on it. And it's got a really dirty neck.
So you've never cleaned it either.
But I won't clean it because it has a feel to it. And it's just a slab of wood, you know, but magical sounding pickups. And I've used this on so many records. American Girl, I Need to Know. Breakdown, I played on this. Listen to Her Heart, all those early records.
Early Tom Petty Heartbreakers.
First two
stuff.
records
This is-
exclusively. Now, when we did, later on, we did a greatest hits record. We did a song called Mary Jane's Last Dance. Tom played this on that.
Now,
He played it on this guitar, so it stayed around all those years.
correct me if I'm wrong. I remember I was at Norm's and I picked up the phone one day and it was Alan Rogan, and you guys had just been robbed at
That's
Culver Studios, and they got a bunch of Tom's guitars. Was this one of the ones? This was one of the ones that they got.
Yeah.
As well,
Well,
wasn't it?
there's two incidences. There was an earlier incident back in the day when we were rehearsing at Universal, and that's when they took this and my Gibson Goldtop, which is irreplaceable. The one you're talking about was in Culver City.
Culver Studios.
I don't think they got this guitar. They got several of Tom's guitars and one of my not so great ones. But we did get them back. We got them all back eventually because the dumbass went across the street to a pawn shop and said, "Hey, can I have some cash for these?" So we tracked it down and got it. And it was an inside job, as it turns out.
Yeah. This one is officially retired.
It's retired, as is my Goldtop. No, I don't take it on the road either. But I use them in recordings all the time. They're
Yeah.
right in my studio, and they sound like nothing else. And it's the one, you know.
Very cool.
And, you know. Even without an amp, it
You can hear
sounds
it.
like magic, you know.
Yeah.
It just has that thing. This was my Strat
Yeah.
that I got in Gainesville,
65,
64.
64.
And I couldn't afford it. It was $200 up at the local store there. And I was talking to Tom, and this girlfriend of ours was over there. She was a girlfriend. And I was going, "Oh yeah, there's a Stratocaster. Someday I got to get a Stratocaster." And she said, "I just had an automobile accident, and I got an insurance settlement, and I've got some money. I'll give you the $200. You can pay me back whenever you can." And I couldn't believe it. Sure, okay. So I went and got this for $200. 64 Strat. This is the Thomas buckle and my buckle.
What did this look like when you first bought it?
It wasn't rubbed out like this. It had a little bit of rub,
Yeah.
but it was relatively, it was broken in, but it had this.
Yeah.
But it didn't have this. This is years of on the road with Tom's buckle.
But Tom played this guitar
a
lot.
I gave it to him to use because
Yeah.
he didn't have one, and he ended up taking it on tour for our first 4 or 5 years. He eventually got his own Strat, and I got this back. But I love them when they're worn out, and they feel like they've been somewhere, maybe on a hobo train or something somewhere, and they just. But this thing, that was Tom's sound. The American Girl, he played rhythm on this guitar. And almost all that first album, anytime there's a I Need to Know, that was Tom on this guitar playing the rhythm. And then I doubled him. I do remember in Gainesville, for some reason, when I got it, the treble pickup didn't work. And a friend of mine who was in a band with Stan Lynch was a guitar geek, and he said, well, I've got an extra Strat pickup laying around. He put this treble pickup in it for me. That's the only thing I ever changed.
Still has original frets and everything?
Yeah, as far as I know, they are the original frets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it just not permitted to clean?
Well, I like the way it looks too, with the finger grease and gunk on there. And I'm afraid if they clean it, it won't feel the same.
Yeah.
You know, I'm paranoid that way. But this is an interesting story.
B-bender.
Yeah. I got this little music store, it wasn't a pawn shop. And I walked in and they had this Telecaster without the string bender on it. And it was $500. It turns out it's a 1956, which, you know. And then at the time I wanted, and the Byrds for a while had Clarence White, and he and his drummer invented this thing which is on this guitar, which is a
Parsons White.
second string bender is called. So when you push down on this lever here, there's a pulley in the back, and you can push down, and it's hooked to your strap. So when you push down on the strap with a little weight, makes the string go up. And the cool thing about that is you could simulate a steel guitar just by pushing down on it, you know.
Yeah.
And I found there's other moves you can do in it too, like so I wanted a guitar with a bender in it, and I wasn't going to mess with
Why not put it on a 56 Tele?
I was so stupid. I would never do that now. I would get some cheap thing or semi-cheap, and I said, yeah, send it off and have them cut. They cut the wood out of the back of this fucking 56 Tele. But the good news is I have a great sounding vintage Tele with a bender in it.
I remember when Mudcrutch started to do the last run, and I remember you playing this guitar.
This was the Mudcrutch. Yeah, this was the Mudcrutch guitar.
And the next day, we went back to Norm's, and we're all like, dude, we got to get B-bender Teles. We got to get B-bender. And we had one in the store, and we all started messing with it. It was like, shit, no, I don't think I need a B-bender. I can't do this. But you were just dominating on the B-bender.
Well, this really fit that band, you know, the bending. And you can also play, it doesn't have to be country. I found ways to play blues with it and other kind of little Appalachian bending and stuff with it. It's a very versatile idea, just on the one string. And of course, I've gotten to know Marty Stewart recently, and he has the original Clarence White Tele, the prototype, which they actually took two Telecaster bodies and stuck them together and cut the wood out of the other back end of the other one.
Oh, wow.
Instead of the main guitar, and then put the pulley in that so they didn't mess the guitar up. And he has that one, which is really, really incredible.
Oh, okay. The Mike Campbell model.
Okay, this is the green one, yeah. Yeah, this is the 40th anniversary. Duesenberg has been so kind to me, and they make really, you know, they're German engineering, really well-made guitars.
Pretty tremolo. The tremolo works fantastic.
Great
on these.
liquid.
They just don't go out of tune.
Well engineered, great pickups. It's not a Gibson,
It's all right.
and it's not a Fender. It's kind of somewhere a little bit like a Gretsch, but a little louder than a Gretsch. But well made, nice and light, and they gave this to me, and we auctioned off. This is for the 40th anniversary of the Heartbreakers. We played a Hyde Park one day, and I had this, and I held it up, and they got a great picture with a sea of people behind it. And Nathan was very happy over at Duesenberg. But we auctioned them off for a charity and got quite a good amount for, I don't know how many of these they sold, but people bidded on them for the dog rescue.
For the Tansy Club?
And so this has a lot of spirituality in it.
Now, Nathan's a friend of mine as well. He told me a story that I don't know if it's verified, but can you tell me how the Mike Campbell model came into existence?
Oh, when we first met, we were on tour, and the Heartbreakers were on tour, and we were backstage at one of those outdoor shed gigs, Pittsburgh or someplace. And back back in the day, a lot of guitar companies would bring their guitars backstage to show it to me or Tom and try to get us to bite on them. And I guess Tom was just fed up with that whole scene. So Nathan brought this backstage at the sound check, and I walked by and saw it, and it was over on Tom's side of the stage. And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Well, that's something they brought for Tom, but he doesn't want it." I said, "Really?" And I looked at it and thought, I'll take it. Played that one at the Super Bowl when the Heartbreakers played there, which he was very thrilled about. And it has like the Ford Cobra stripe down the middle. Great design, kind of like a Les Paul, but he's a great guy, and he's given me lots of great instruments, Duesenbergs, over the years.
And we didn't talk about it earlier, but what's it like playing the Super Bowl halftime show? That has to be a week-long trip.
It's beyond pressure. It's beyond comprehension, really. It was great for me. As it turned out that year, the Super Bowl was on my birthday, which is February 1st, and it was in Phoenix. So I flew all the kids out, and they got to see Dad play the Super Bowl on his birthday. It was a pretty special day. Yeah. But it was a lot of pressure. You've got 12 minutes to get up on the stage and go for it, and 90 million people are watching, or whatever it was. A bigger crowd than we'd ever played for before. But it was also exciting, and it came across really well, and we did all right with that.
You guys always never seem to be shy about playing all the guitars. When you go out on the road now, you have all of this stuff. What do you bring? Does it go through cycles of what you're into, or does it depend on what the gig is, or?
Well, with the Heartbreakers, we had unlimited space I could bring as many as I wanted. It depends on the songs. We put the set together in rehearsal. Okay, well, these two songs, we're going to have a Rickenbacker 12-string for that. We're going to need a backup for that in case it breaks a string. Okay, these songs we need a Telecaster. These songs have to have a Gibson, and for each one of those, we have to have a backup for that one because we're at a big show. You don't want to stop and change a string. So the songs would dictate what guitars we'd bring out. Typically with the Heartbreakers, I was maybe bringing 10 or 12 guitars out, to cover the whole show. With my band now, we're economizing back down to 2 or 3 guitars, which is really all you need. Well, the joke about how many guitars does a guitar player really need. Have you heard that one?
One more.
One.
More. Yeah, the one I got.
So it's an addiction. You just keep, they're so wonderful as art pieces and as tools. And I just am enamored with them. So I don't buy that many anymore because I kind of got all there is, pretty much. So I'm not out hunting for new guitars. In fact, I'm trying to pull back because I don't have room for them. If you buy the right ones, Gibson, you're going to make money on it whether you sell it or not. You leave it to your kids, they're going to double what you paid for it. They'll get it back. So it's a win-win-win with guitars.
I know you say you're not buying anymore, but is there anything out there that you're looking for, or something you haven't had, or a color, or something that you would really like that's still not in the collection? I
have a couple of 335s, and I recently got a 345. I might want to get a 355 someday, but I'm not like gung-ho to get one, but if one became available, I'd probably be interested.
What was the attraction to the 12-string that you guys had? Because, in the 80s, you guys kind of single-handedly brought Rickenbacker back on the map.
Wow,
and with the 12 strings, where did that come from?
That's obvious. There's 2 people that played the Rickenbacker 12-string, Roger McGuinn and George Harrison. No. And maybe a little bit of Carl Wilson, you might see him. But those 2 were the ones that I heard on the radio, the Byrds and the Beatles with that Rickenbacker 12-string sound, and I was just hypnotized by it. The Byrds would come on with Tambourine Man or whatever on the AM radio back in the day when I was a kid, and I would just go, "Oh my God, how does he get that sound?" It just spoke to me, and I wanted one ever since. And they're beautiful instruments, and there's certain songs that come out of those guitars that they cry for you to write a certain way because they make a certain there's a chime and a harmonic above it that nothing else makes, that we were always attracted to, and we tried to put it in our show as much as possible. Shall I tell the story on this one? This is
because I know what that is.
And I've told this story before. Maybe
it's all right. Give it to us again.
Give it a different color. Okay, we wanted a 12-string. I wanted a 12-string on American Girl, but we didn't have one. So on that guitar, on that song, I played the Broadcaster with octaves to make it sound like. But the second album, we got this, and we did Listen to Her Heart on it. You can tell I'm not even plugged in. It just has a harmonic ring, beautiful sound to it. So the story on this one is, I wanted a Rickenbacker. I had about $120 on me, and I went to the recycler back in the day. That was how you could find stuff.
Before Craigslist. The recycler was the way to do it.
Yeah, it was way before that, and you'd read it and go, oh, Anaheim, Rickenbacker 12-string for sale, $150. So we drove out there, and I thought it was going to be this one.
You were expecting this,
the George
hollow,
Harrison, big body version. This is what I was looking for. And I got there, and he brought it out of the back room. He brought this out, and I went, oh, no, what is that? I'd never even seen one shaped like that.
Yeah.
I thought it looked like a toy. I said, oh, no, that's not what I wanted. But I'd driven all the way out to Anaheim. I said, how about you take $120 for it? I think he wanted $150. So he said, okay. And this turns out to be, once we took it to the Rickenbacker factory, they looked at the number on it, serial number, and it turns out this was the next guitar off the assembly line right after George Harrison's famous 12-string.
Wow. So
how did I know? I've just been so lucky. And it sounds like that. I mean, it's just, the sound is that era. It sounds, as good as any 12-string could ever sound.
And this is
on the cover of Damn the Torpedoes. Once again, Tom borrowed it. And I still use it because it just tunes, it sounds good. And even though it's got the little body, I'm proud of it. Oh, cool. Yeah.
This is not a traditional Rickenbacker model.
No,
right?
The Rickenbacker people were so kind to Tom and I when they saw we were playing their stuff. And I told them I wanted a guitar that looked like John Lennon's, but there was a good lead guitar, because he was mostly...
Wasn't meant for a child.
And it had a full-scale
neck on it, yeah.
And actually I said, pattern the neck after a Martin acoustic. So it's a little wider, which is great for playing, And I wanted it black, and I wanted the old knobs like John had on his. I guess they're called radio knobs.
Yeah.
And the gold and black. And I don't even know what kind of pickups these are, but I told them put some hot pickups in there so I can play solos on it, and they did. This looks like a Rickenbacker pickup. This is some kind of souped up thing, but this thing sounds great.
You used to play Runnin Down a Dream on this guitar a lot.
I did it quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah. I just love all the Capri appointments, the gold guards, those radio knobs. It's cool. And it's one of one, right? It's
a one of a kind. I told him to make the body a little wider. It's got a bit of a hollow cavity in it, so it's still got some Rickenbacker elements to it.
Yeah.
But it's a thicker, John's is about maybe 3/4 this wide. It's solid.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to have a semi-acoustic feel to it, and so there is a hollow body inside here. Some hollow cavities here and there. It looks cool as shit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's rock and roll. I always loved this.
The hardtail piece.
And of course this logo. They had their shit going on.
That's something you don't see every day. Not a black country gentleman.
Unless you watch the Ed Sullivan Show. Although his looked black, it probably was burgundy.
Yeah, I've never seen a black one.
Well, I have to thank Norm. This came from Norm? Rare Guitars. He called me one day, and I'm never looking to buy guitars anymore. And he goes, I got this guitar that is for you. You should have this guitar. And I said, well, I don't really feel like spending, I don't know, whatever it was. He said, well, I'll tell you what, he was doing this thing with stage clothes for the museum. He said, you bring me down some coats or boots or whatever, some clothes that you've worn on tour, and I'll trade you for the guitar, which is what I did. And I brought him some pants and boots and a couple of jackets from the Heartbreakers tour, and we traded for it. But I liked it because it looked like George's from the Ed Sullivan Show. But listen, this has maybe the most liquid vibrato of all my guitars.
I'm just freaking out about
smooth.
the custom color. I've never seen another one
Is
in
black
black.
really that rare?
Yeah.
See, I always thought George's was black until I looked
just black
close.
and white TV. I kind of read it's
Yeah,
just a really dark brown.
So black is
walnut.
rare then.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to know that. I had no idea. It's a very comfortable guitar to play. And I love the yellow. The yellowing ivory trim is always beautiful to me. But this is I use this, you know, more than you would think. So musical, huh? It sounds like an orchestra.
So cool.
Yeah, cool. And of course, this has got the oxidation, and the plastic here is kind of turning yellow. A fake F-hole.
Yeah, to paint it on F-holes.
Just painted on, which is kind of funny. A Gretsch Bigsby. Gretsch by Bigsby, yeah. Very cool. And it stays in tune. A lot of Bigsbys are hard to keep in tune, but this one is really solid. Craftsmanship back then was just better. You know, it's probably made by hand. That's probably why.
That is cool. This
Yeah,
is early 60s?
A double neck one. Yes, it is. I got that at Manny's, if you can believe it, in New York years ago. I don't know what I paid for it. It wasn't outrageous, but it's a beauty, you know. And as you can see, I played it live. I had to put tape where I could see the neck and the lights, because you can get lost with the gold and glitter.
Yeah.
And,
Well, God, it looks like those tuners are getting mossy. Look at that. Look at the green and fuzzy. That is awesome.
And all the cracks
And the
in
black.
here. Oh yeah, the green mildew or whatever it is. Yeah, it's. Of course, I always wanted a Gretsch when I saw George Harrison play, but Neil Young also did a lot with these. This also has a beautiful arm that's just. Liquid.
You have a few of these, right? Because I've seen you with a single cut.
I have the single cutaway, which is the more common one, and I wasn't looking for this one, but I walked into Manny's years ago, and it was a double cutaway, and I thought, you know, that and it wasn't too expensive, so I got it. A white Falcon logo, and look at this thing. It's like an industrial.
Yeah,
two
telescoping arm.
Yeah. And it's got a mute in here, which I never used. There's one of these knobs. This one.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, you
that's the
push
mute
this
up.
up. Oh, it does two
Yeah, you got
sections.
two mutes, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I never knew that. You can mute just the. Oh, that's cool. I can mute only 3 of the strings if I want to. I didn't even know I could do that.
Where do you normally go to the Gretches for? Is there a specific sound that you're going for? Is it a slide thing? Is it a rhythm thing?
It's just a Harrison thing or Neil. If I'm thinking it's this, or if I want something with a vibrato arm. It's great for that. And they just look so cool. What's over this gold glitter in here? What were they thinking?
It's like drum. That's like drum wrap.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's like a drum, a silver sparkle drum.
Same stuff that the Gretsch drums were covered in.
That's true. There you go. That's where they got it from. Yeah, cool. All right.
Very cool.
Oh, you're digging deep. Very
Johnny Ramone, anyone? That's
there you go.
White Ventures model.
Absolutely.
Custom color. That is cool. Were you big on these?
I love the Ventures, and I liked Johnny Ramone played a. This has an interesting story, and look at the cracks. If you can see this, the cracks in the paint.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, so beautiful, and got so much soul in it. This was a gift. These friends of mine have a band called the Los Straitjackets. They're from Nashville, and they're an instrumental band. They play a lot of surf type music. And years ago, they wanted to record with me. We did a couple of Christmas singles here in my studio with them. And instead of paying me, they gave me this guitar.
Fair enough.
Which is definitely fair enough. And it's just, it's a beast. I don't play it a whole lot, but every time I do, I go, I should play this more. because it sounds so good.
They have really small frets on them. I know that. They're almost
Yeah,
like a
a bit of a
fretless
narrow
one fret.
neck.
Yeah.
But, you know, tell right off the body, it's just California made. It's all California all the way, right?
Yeah.
Mo's right. There you go.
Very cool. And custom color too, which is fun. Speaking of the dirty knobs, you guys are going to have a busy summer.
Oh yeah.
What's it like to finally get out on the road?
We're so excited. We can't wait. It's been a tough 2 years for us because we were ready to go with our first album. Now we have 2 albums, which that's a blessing. But we haven't played in 2 years. But we've been rehearsing a lot, and the band sounds great. Can't wait to play in front of people again.
Do you still have the same amount of fun you did when you were that kid in the barn?
Yes,
Yeah.
even more.
Yeah.
I mean, it is fun. I mean, you get 4 guys together that play really good together, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, fun. It's just it's a thrill because there's chemistry, there's interplay, and it's the sound of the music and the feeling. It's never gotten old. In fact, I love it more as I get older. It's just like when I first plugged in a garage band when I was 19 or whatever. Louie, oh my God, look, we're doing it. What is this? This is a great experience. It's the same thing now. This feels great. And we'll get to the end of a song and we'll always look at you like, wow, how lucky are we? We get to do that, It was so much fun. So yes, it's a joy, playing music with a good group of guys and having some good songs to play. There's nothing better for me.
Mike, I want to thank you for having us out, man. This has been quite the day. Some amazing
It's been fun.
stories.
Yeah, you got deep into stuff I hadn't thought about ever.
Well,
cool.
there's some killer stories. I want to thank you. And everybody out there, make sure, pick up the Dirty Knobs new album, External Combustion, and check this guy out on the road all summer in a town near you. I'm Mark Agnesi for Gibson TV. See you guys next time on another episode of The Collection. Peace.
Gypsy, take the wheel.